A tragic car accident, a public assault, and losing his friends. Thanks to Top Gun Maverick, Miles Teller is finally a household name, but his journey to stardom has been anything but easy. Tragedy struck Miles Teller's life well before he embarked on his acting career. In 2007, Teller was in his junior year in college at New York University, and he went with some friends to a music festival. Teller was a passenger on the way back from the festival when the car he was riding in flipped, going 80 miles per hour. He was tossed 30 feet from the vehicle, and the accident left him with scars all along his face, neck, and chin.
Buddy thought I was dead.
If you've never noticed the scars before, that's because Teller underwent a ton of treatment to have them lightened. He once told Esquire, "I got a lot of laser surgery on my face, like what they use for getting rid of tattoos, like very painful." The laser treatment went on for 2 years, and even though now it seems inevitable that the scars wouldn't get in the way of Teller's career, at the time, it wasn't so obvious.
When I first started auditioning, people straight up were like, "Yeah, Miles is a good actor. It doesn't make sense for this character to have scars."
The reactions Teller got were demoralizing, but eventually he landed in front of John Cameron Mitchell, who saw a way to incorporate the scars into Teller's character. The director gave Teller his first feature-length role in 2010's Rabbit Hole.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I know.
The facial scars weren't the only effect Teller felt from that accident. The incident also ended up costing him most of the friends that he'd made through his college years. In an interview with Esquire, Teller explained that he didn't blame his roommate, who was the driver, for the accident, but it pushed the two of them into a bigger confrontation. He told the publication, "I was racking up all these medical bills, so we had to sue his insurance because he was driving. It's not like we're suing him, we're suing his insurance." Teller's roommate didn't see things the same way, and he told Teller that they couldn't be friends anymore. Teller said he felt as though he were being blamed for an accident he had nothing to do with. Their falling out rippled into the rest of their friend group. Most of Teller's friends, the actor said, took his roommate's side and moved in with him shortly after the incident. Luckily, Teller was still close with his high school friend group, so he didn't become completely isolated after the accident. Less than a year after Teller's accident, a motorcycle crash killed his childhood friend Nick. A car blew through an intersection and hit Teller's friend, who ended up at the hospital in critical condition. Teller told Esquire, "I was in the hospital when they pulled the plug on my one friend. I knew what it felt like to hug a mother the day she lost her son." A month later, yet another car accident killed Teller's friend Bo. In the space of just a year, Teller nearly died, turned 21, and then lost two of his closest friends. All of that happened before Teller had really begun acting professionally. But that emotional energy is something that has stuck with him all these years later. He told The Guardian, "It'll definitely impact on me for the rest of my life for sure." Teller had a fantastic run of movies after making his feature-length acting debut in Rabbit Hole. He went from that movie to high-profile films like Footloose, Project X, and Whiplash before landing an ongoing role in the Divergent franchise. Divergent might have seemed like a big opportunity for Teller, but there are some signs that he didn't enjoy working on the film. In an interview with W Magazine, Teller said, "I didn't have an interesting part, and I'd taken the film for business reasons."
Do you ever stop talking?
I just want to know how she does it. What's your trick?
He later walked back that statement on X, then Twitter, and clarified to the Los Angeles Times that by business reasons, he meant a chance to play a villain in an international movie alongside Shailene Woodley. After course-correcting his comments, Teller went on to star in the Divergent sequel, Insurgent, and from there, the series started running into its own trouble. Insurgent debuted to terrible reviews, and a year later its sequel, Allegiant, did the same. The series was supposed to culminate in a fourth movie called Ascendant, but Lionsgate decided to shift the finale away from a theatrical release. The actors weren't thrilled with the new plan, and eventually the series fell apart before ever reaching the finish line. Starring in a young adult series didn't work out for Teller, and neither did diving into a comic book universe. The year after Teller appeared in Divergent, he made his debut as Reed Richards, one of Marvel Universe's greatest heroes. Directed by Josh Trank, 2015's Fantastic Four isn't part of the MCU, and it tried to tell a grittier story about Marvel's first family than the 2005 adaptation did. By most metrics, Trank's take on the Fantastic Four utterly failed. The movie barely managed to break even on its $120 million budget, and on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a stunning 9% approval rating.
I am smarter than you.
Fantastic Four was the beginning and end of Teller's foray into being a superhero. The movie's reception would be enough to sour any actor on the genre, but Teller reportedly had a rough time while working on the film. He and Trank constantly butted heads, and a rumor spread that the two of them nearly got into a physical altercation while on set. Trank has tried to downplay those rumors in interviews, but Teller has been more coy while talking about his experience on the movie. He told Newsweek, "If something happens on set, I think you should be professional about it. I don't think you need to talk too much about it." Teller was still early in his career when Damien Chazelle's Whiplash put him in the spotlight in a way he'd never been before. The movie, which won 3 Oscars, gave Teller a huge platform.
Show me your rudiments.
Yes, sir.
It seemed only natural that he'd want to work with Chazelle again on the director's next project, La La Land. For a while, Teller was supposed to play the lead alongside Emma Stone. When he lost out on the role, a report claimed that he'd been passed over because he demanded a $6 million paycheck after being offered $4 million. Teller later claimed that the story was completely false and that he'd been fully on board for the movie until getting a surprise text from his agent saying that Chazelle wanted to go with someone else.
All right, I remember you.
Losing out on a massive role is bad enough, but having the rumor hit his reputation made the situation so much worse for Teller. Years later, he told Vulture, "I can 1000% assure you that if there was a part I wanted to play, I would not turn down $4 million to do it." In interviews, Teller often tries to put his best foot forward and present himself as a hardworking actor who focuses most of his attention on his craft. There's absolutely truth in that characterization, but the world has also gotten to witness another side of Teller. In June 2017, Teller was arrested by San Diego law enforcement after appearing to be drunk in public. The news framed Teller as a bit of a party animal, and that might be why he took to social media to try and soften the story. He tweeted, "Went down to SD to see my buddy before he deployed. I wasn't arrested, I was detained because there was no evidence to charge me with a crime." That doesn't exactly line up with the story that the police told, however. According to Variety, the police said Teller had the choice of going to a detox center to sober up, but became argumentative and uncooperative, leading to his arrest. In 2021, Teller found himself back in the news after being assaulted while on a trip to Maui with his wife and their friends Shailene Woodley and Aaron Rodgers. Teller and his wife were reportedly eating dinner when Teller went to the bathroom and was confronted by 2 men. He was punched in the face, and the story began to get even stranger. Not long after Teller was assaulted, TMZ reported that the assailant was a wedding planner Teller and his wife had hired to plan their 2019 ceremony. According to that story, the wedding planner was upset because he believed Teller owed him $60,000. That story was quickly refuted by Teller's wife, who posted on her Instagram story that Teller had been assaulted by 2 strangers. She wrote, "It seems these same men have done this to many people, and we appreciate your support, Maui. This is now a criminal investigation." Later, on his own social media, Teller confirmed that he'd been attacked by 2 men and that he didn't know either of them. Later reporting indicated that though Teller might not have known the men, one of them was apparently married to the wedding planner who'd worked with Teller in 2019. The man who allegedly punched Teller was eventually charged with assault, and this entire strange incident slowly slid out of public view. Top Gun: Maverick was one of the biggest and most widely successful films of Miles Teller's career. Filming it was also one of the biggest challenges that Teller faced as an actor. Teller and his co-stars really took to the skies for various shots throughout the movie, and while they were in the air, they had to operate their own cameras, hold their attention on the scene itself, and keep their lunch down while flying through the air. It was a unique experience, but Teller was less than enthused, telling Tech Radar, "I like when other people are doing their job and I only have to worry about acting."
This is a taxiway, not a runway.
The technicality of filming Top Gun was actually the least Teller had to worry about while working on the movie. His bigger challenge was dealing with a horrible allergic reaction that immediately sent him to the doctor. Coming back from a flight, Teller realized that his entire body was covered in hives. He got blood drawn and discovered that the reaction came from pesticides and jet fuel that had worked their way into his body. Teller said on Late Night with Seth Meyers that the next day on set, Tom Cruise asked him what the doctors found out, and he told Cruise he had jet fuel in his blood.
And without even skipping a beat, Tom just goes, "Yeah, I was born with it, kid."
All the way back in 2015, just as Miles Teller's career was really beginning to take off, the actor sat down for an interview with Esquire. That piece offered some interesting insights into Teller's approach to acting and some heart-wrenching details of his personal life. It also presented the actor in a fairly negative light. Teller later described his personal reaction to the piece in an interview with The Guardian, saying, "Oh, I felt frickin' helpless. I felt extremely misrepresented. I felt a little angry." He went on to say that the piece caused him to think more carefully when speaking to reporters and that he he'd sometimes purposefully try to present himself as being boring so there'd be less to say about him. That piece colored Teller's reputation for years, and it's something he's reflected on over and over again. He once told Vulture, "Maybe some people have been turned off of me because I take what I'm doing pretty seriously, and I don't feel the need to charm everybody." The piece didn't hold back Teller's career by any means, but it still left a mark on him. He went on, "I absolutely do care what people think about me.